On March 2nd, 2009, the first Pharmacy Podcast episode was published about pharmacy technology and customer service. Today, we celebrate the Pharmacy Podcast Network's 500th episode with a special thanks to some of our sponsors: iMedicare, McKesson Pharmacy Systems, RxSafe, HD Smith, Integra LTC Solutions, Cardinal Health, QS1, CVS Health Careers, University of the Sciences, RJ Hedges and Associates, American Pharmacy Purchasing Alliance, Heritage Biologics, National Association of Specialty Pharmacies, American Society of Consultant Pharmacies, Theragy, RX Ownership, Vaxigo, ACMA, Secure 340B, Infinitrack, Genomics Incorporated, Omnicell. We want to recognize and thank all of our sponsors for helping us grow the Pharmacy Podcast Network. A special thanks to our incredibly talented podcast co-hosts, and especially a huge thank you to our 66,000 plus listeners for making the Pharmacy Podcast Network the #1 podcast in the world about the business of pharmacy. And now, here's a man addicted to coffee, Pittsburgh lover, avid ATV rider, father of 4 daughters, all the madness, and the second to last Jedi, your host and the founder of the Pharmacy Podcast Network and pharmacy's #1 fan, Todd Eury.
Hey there, Pharmacy Podcast listeners. This is Erin Albert, one of the co-hosts focused on your career development in 2017. Congratulations to the Pharmacy Podcast for its 500th episode. Todd et al., congratulations. The pharmacy community is better having you in our lives. So thank you for your efforts, Todd. We really appreciate it. In the coming year, in 2018, I'll be back with the Pharmacy Podcast, and I'll be focused on your career development with a particular focus on HIT or healthcare IT, as well as entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship seems to be a huge topic right now in pharmacy. Definitely want to bring you more of the people out there hustling hard to make healthcare better. Until next time, this is Erin Albert. And again, Todd, congratulations on your 500th episode with the Pharmacy Podcast.
Hey, this is Christopher Kennedy with the Specialty Pharmacy Podcast Show. Just wanted to send out a big high five to the entire Pharmacy Podcast Network for reaching the 500th podcast episode milestone. Podcast number 1 through 500 have provided audiences with meaningful industry insights, and we look forward to keeping this momentum as we enter 2018. As a reminder, please join me at the Specialty Pharmacy Podcast Show, focused on sharing collaborative industry insights that are advancing patient care.
Hi, this is Nicole McClure with the Pharmacy Marketing Simplified Podcast. Wishing a sincere congrats to the Pharmacy Podcast Network on their 500th episode since starting in March 2009. It's been a privilege and an honor to be part of this group since 2015 and working with publisher Todd Eury. In 2018, the Pharmacy Marketing Simplified Podcast will be continuing to bring you ways to promote independent pharmacy owners to their various markets by speaking with industry experts and fellow pharmacy owners on how to do it best. Learn all the tips and tricks to help your business succeed. Again, a sincere congrats and looking forward to 2018.
This is Tony Guerra with the Pharmacy Future Leaders Podcast. I'm excited we could add over 36 podcast episodes in a little over a year to the network. I'd never podcast before last September, so it's clear the one must-have in leadership is great mentorship. So thanks to Todd Eury and my fellow Pharmacy Podcast co-hosts for bringing me up to speed so fast. Next year, you'll continue to hear from APPE students connecting with other students, graduates and mentors, and interviews with the pharmacy leaders who can help you with your entrepreneurial journey or side hustle, and the companies and colleges that help make it happen.
Hey guys, this is Joe Castleman with Pharmacist Financial, and I'm here with Ben from Waypoint Pharmacist Advisors, and we are the co-host of the Income Outcomes Show. And we're here to say congratulations to the Pharmacy Podcast Network's 500th podcast episode, starting since March of 2009. Man, that's been a long time. Hey, Ben, what do we got going on this coming year for our podcast?
Joe, we have all kind of great information coming. Hopefully some entertainment. Might even do some impersonations. I don't know. Just, we hope you tune in and enjoy what you hear.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely want to have fun, and we want to tell a lot of stories and maybe have some good interviews and ultimately have some thought-provoking ideas so that we can all be financially successful and happy.
Yeah, Joe, I think I want to focus on actually delivering practical stuff.
Exactly.
People can actually use in their life. I think that a lot of times we hear stuff and we don't necessarily know how to apply it in our lives. So some of the financial things we're going to talk about are going to be followed up with how to actually get started, how to actually evaluate things, look at things, and make the changes that you need to make in your lives to be successful from a financial perspective.
Awesome. I agree. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Congratulations to the whole network here. We're very thrilled to be a part of it, and we hope that the next few years are as successful as the past few years.
Sounds good. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you, Todd. Have a good day, guys.
Hey, this is Jeff Hedges with the Pharmacy Compliance Guide saying congratulations to the Pharmacy Podcast Network's 500th episode. I've had the great pleasure of working with Todd Eury and the Pharmacy Podcast Network for many years. In the new year, the Pharmacy Compliance Guide will be focusing on how the DEA, the FDA, and the insurance companies are infiltrating the world of compliance, as well as areas where you can increase business opportunities. Looking forward to 2018. Tune in to the Pharmacy Compliance Guide.
My name is Brandon Welch, and I'm the president of the American Pharmacy Purchasing Alliance. You're listening to the 500th Pharmacy Podcast.
Hey, Pharmacy Podcast Network. I cannot believe today has come as fast as it has come. If you are a parent and you've watched your kids grow up, you all know how fast time goes by. And 8 years ago, March 2nd, 2009, I released the very first episode of the Pharmacy Podcast. Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast Network's 500th episode with special guest, Mr. Brandon Welch. He's president of the American Pharmacy Purchasing Alliance, and they are also our sponsor today. Hey, Brandon, welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
You're very welcome. I can't believe how much, just how fast time goes. You know, I have 4 daughters of my own, and my youngest is 5. Her name's Lola. And then there's Rachel is 8, and Ashley is 14, and Tyler's 15. And every time I turn around, it's Christmas again. and what do you know? It's like, you know, we're right in the beginning of the holiday season in 2017, and I don't know where 2017 went. It's just like, what in the world? I wake up and all of a sudden it's November 2017.
I know. Tell me about it. Time has really gone by fast. I remember, years ago when we started this pharmacy organization in 2014, and we're almost about to enter 2018. So, I can only just imagine how fast time has really been going by.
You know, tell our listeners, just in case they don't know, just a little bit about yourself and the American Pharmacy Purchasing Alliance.
Sure. So like I mentioned before, I am the president of American Pharmacy Purchasing Alliance. A little bit about what we do. We were founded in 2014 with the mission in mind to help represent the proprietary interests of the independent pharmacy community. We are a national pharmacy trade association for independent pharmacies that offer a wide range of complementary services to really help independent pharmacies compete in a free and lawful marketplace. I almost like to consider ourselves a one-stop shop for independent pharmacy solutions. We like to stay committed to the growth and affluence of this community pharmacy enterprise. And for our listeners, if you want to learn more, you can find us at joinappa.com.
That's great. Yeah, joinappa.com. That's actually your Twitter handle too. So if you're going to follow them on Twitter, look them up on LinkedIn. You can find them, joinappa. Brandon, tell you what, it's the market. Owning a pharmacy it's harder than ever, but it's also more. It provides you a lot of pride and joy to serve your community and serve patients in your community. There's a lot of volatility with PBMs and what that means to a pharmacy owner that might own one pharmacy or owns 30 pharmacies, whether that be specialty or compounding or community or a mixture. Regardless, I think having an organization like APPA in your corner is very important.
Right, definitely, and that's what APPA is here for. We're definitely here to be a voice for the independent pharmacy community. We understand how a lot of the independent pharmacies are being affected by these DIR fees, these PBM clawback fees, and again, APPA is just here to be that major advocate and stand by the side of the independent pharmacy community. So Todd, tell us how the Pharmacy Podcast began and what the 500th episode means to you.
You know, I was repeating myself a lot. I was in pharmacy technology. I was talking with other providers of technology. And these people I was talking to were so impressive. They were intelligent. They spoke down to earth about automation, about APIs and interfaces to other systems. And I said, I'm going to start recording these conversations. So originally the Pharmacy Podcast was known as the Pharmacy Technology Resource Podcast. Well, that's pretty much a mouthful, so that's much too long of a title. and it started off as a blog and transformed into the Pharmacy Podcast, and then accumulated listeners slowly and wondered why I was doing it. And my wife at the time asked me, why are you putting money into this thing? And it was just slow go, as any entrepreneur would know, and making sacrifices and sticking to it and consistency. But I put out probably about maybe one episode a week, possibly one episode every other week. And it just started growing popularity because there was really no one else podcasting. And by 2013, I had maybe about 1,200 to 2,000 listeners. It was hard to keep count because back then I was using something called Blog Talk Radio as the platform, and it's not a platform. It's much different today than it was back then, but back then it wasn't a high quality platform. And then in 2014, really transformed some things and started collecting other people's visions of the business of pharmacy. Aaron Albert came on the show and really started to build out the network. Blair Thielemeyer came on, and it was just explosive growth after 2014. And I'm just so excited that it's become a network of pharmacy professionals that interject their mind share and their thoughts and their leadership and their innovation and their ideas, because that's what I always envisioned it. I did not want to be the voice of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I wanted it to be pharmacists' voice, and I wanted it to transform into this huge network of pharmacists. I still have big dreams for it, and it's why I invited you on the show today. But I really want to just let the listeners know it means so much to me that you've given us so much feedback over the last 8 years, over the last 499 episodes. I also want to say thank you so much to Tony Guerra, his dedication to Pharmacy Future Leaders, which is transforming into a show called Pharmacy Leaders. And he really interviews people that are changing things with so much passion and so much vision. as pharmacists. And we need that. We need excitement in pharmacy. I know there's lots of retail pharmacists out there, lots of people that have been in the business a long time that feel beat up. And I want you to know that things are changing still. Things are transforming still. There's nothing, no one can define everything about pharmacy. So thanks so much, Tony, for being that gong of passion. And Erin Albert, what an incredible rock star for me. I look up to Erin. I feel like she's one of my mentors as a professional. She leads our pharmacy professional career development. She's done an incredible job. She pumps out so much content. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with her, but she's passionate about what she does, what she talks about, who she interviews. She's a well-known author, and I'm excited that she's coming and staying on for 2018. Mr. Darshan Kulkarni, he runs the Gavel and Pestle podcast. Listeners, if you haven't heard of the Gavel and Pestle podcast, it's a really interesting viewpoint on our industry. As a matter of fact, Brandon, we're going to have you on in the spring of 2018 to talk about the world of PBMs. And that's a little hint about something that we're going to talk about later. But Darshan does an incredible job digging into the law of pharmacy, the innovation of the business model of pharmacy. He talked about Amazon and what that means for our industry. So he has an incredible amount of insight. We're glad to have him. The American Society of Consultant Pharmacists is a partner of ours. They helped us release Senior RX Radio. Mr. Chad Wers, he's a great guy. He's passionate. He's a Star Wars fan like myself. He knows so much that, I mean, it's amazing what he knows about treating our elderly and how delicate they are, how many medications that they're on, how important it is to be consultative in understanding how their medications affect their well-being and living a long, healthy life as a senior. So I'm blessed to have the American Society of Consultant Pharmacists in our network. The Specialty Pharmacy Podcast with the NASP, the National Association of Specialty Pharmacies. I was so excited. In 2015, I wanted to launch that show. We hit some hiccups, but we reset in the last months of 2017. Christopher Kennedy with Heritage Biologics and Sheila Arquette, the actual executive director of NASP, they are on board for 2018. We're going to do some incredible things with specialty pharmacy. Specialty pharmacy, as you know, Brandon, is like a rocket ship of all things pharmacy business and how we're caring for patients and in designing the special way that we're managing not only a patient's life, but the medication and the effects and the coordination of care and collaboration. So I'm super excited about that segment. Pharmacy Compliance Guide, Mr. Jeff Hedges. He's the founder of RJ Hedges and Associates. Just want to thank you, Jeff, for your dedication to the network and the intelligence that you bring to independent pharmacy for the Pharmacy Compliance Guide. I don't know, Brandon, have you ever heard of the Fit Pharmacist?
Oh, yes. Christina and Adam. I remember meeting Christina at the NCPA conference for the first time. And I think she does an amazing job representing her brand because I never met her before actually seeing her at the NCPA convention, but I have seen a lot of her posts on LinkedIn and on social media. And it was funny because as soon as I seen her at the NCPA convention this year, it's as if I already walked into her already because I think she's done such an amazing job marketing the Fit Pharmacist on all of her social media platforms. And for the listeners out there, I think it's a great business model because if you think about where pharmacy is going from fee-for-service to now a value-based care model, I think it's very important to implement this new health and wellness idea into a patient's drug therapy regimen as these insurance companies start to look more for you providing value to the patient rather than just providing a basic service.
It's so evolutionary of where the pharmacist role is going, and Christina and Adam are right on top of it. They believe in life coaching, not just talking about diet, not talking about exercise, not talking about just one thing. They're actually combining it all, and then they back this up with being pharmacists. I mean, it's like a powder keg, going off in 2018. These guys are incredible. They're passionate. They're sincere. They're intelligent. They're not cocky. They don't think they know it all. They're always learning. Christina shares stories with me about learning from her patients when she's helping them, and her clients about living a better life. So I can't wait to see what they do in 2018. Excited about them. The Income Outcomes Show with Joe Castleman and Ben Coakley. Benjamin Coakley is deep into a family of third generation business owners about managing your money, managing your finances, doing better things with your money, including giving it away and giving it to other organizations to support the needy and to support community. And what a passionate group, what a family to have in the network. The Income Outcomes Show is all about a pharmacist's finances and how to manage those. So we just launched that show very recently. The NCPA, they were there and they did some live interviews. So that's out. You can definitely find it if you just put in Google Income Outcomes Show. And so we're excited about that one. Nicole McClure, I don't even have to bring this woman's name up to you, Brandon, because you know the passion of Nicole as well as the intelligence of Nicole. Her business acumen, she's taken over the leadership at GRX Marketing. She's delivering a brand new reset show of the Pharmacy Marketing Simplified show. It's going to be everything about if you want to make your brand better, stand out, engage your patients and your business partners through Pharmacy Marketing Simplified, a podcast all about pharmacy marketing. We are so excited to have Nicole coming back for the 2018 season. And then Blair Thielemeyer, as I mentioned her before, she concentrates on entrepreneurial activities as a pharmacist, how to take what you've done in your 6 to 8 years of education and transform it into something other than what you might think as a traditional role as a pharmacist. So I'm excited about Blair's continuing to be a part of the network. Because of how busy she is, she hasn't come on a regular basis per se, but we'll still get a show or two out of her. And I think it's worth what she delivers back to the show and her insight. So yeah, wow, Brandon, I tell you what, it's come a long way. There's constant flux and transformation in what I've always done. I always believe in keeping ideas not only flowing, but transforming into something useful. So I'm excited about 2018. I'm excited that we're at episode 500. I mean, I have so much content ready to go for 2018. I have some of our podcasters, emailing me every other week saying, when's episode XYZ coming out? So as soon as we get episode 500 out, listeners, be ready. We're going to actually do some new management to the website. I've heard lots of feedback, and thank you, listeners, for giving us the feedback that the website is a little bit sticky and it's hard to navigate through. So we're going to improve that website. We're going to make it easier to navigate and find the content that you're looking for. If you go to the contact section, please leave us a voice message about an episode, about anything you want to talk about. If the voicemail that you leave us in the contact section, it's very easy to leave us a voicemail as long as you have an integrated speaker in your laptop or your computer. You leave us a voicemail, it could become part of the next show. So we want to hear from you. We want to make our listeners a bigger part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network in 2018. So that's kind of my call to action for pharmacists. And Brandon, you and I, there's an ulterior motive of why you're here today, isn't there?
Of course. Yes, it is. And we're definitely going to jump right into it about what's new with the innovation between our Pharmacy Edge magazine and the Pharmacy Podcast Network. So what would you say what's new for the 501st episode of 2018 and beyond, Todd?
So what we're going to do is we're going to integrate the Pharmacy Podcast into the Pharmacy Edge magazine. The e-Zine is going to have the ability to listen to podcasts that are associated with the articles that are written in written form. And then a sponsor or vendor and client of the Pharmacy Edge magazine is going to have the opportunity to not only release a campaign or an ad through a visual ad through Pharmacy Edge magazine, but those entities are going to have the ability to talk directly to their audience through an integrated interview that's going to allow them to really engage and go beyond just normal, everyday status quo advertising. So I think it's taking the whole media and publication up to a whole nother level. I think that when we have advertisers that are looking for a differentiator from any other publication in pharmacy, the Pharmacy Edge is going to give you an edge, not to be cliche-y, but is cliche a word? But so
you make it up.
it's going to give you an actual edge in your advertising dollar and what you're getting back, because the Pharmacy Podcast has always driven leads back to our sponsors because of the embed code that we stick, the podcast player code that we actually stick on our sponsors' websites, so that when someone's listening to the show, they're actually listening to the show in your web environment. I think that's going to be another combination of things to come, and we're going to take it step by step. We have a couple phases to go through, but listeners, be on the lookout. Pharmacy Edge, put that in Google, look up Pharmacy Edge magazine, and we're going to have an integration, a tight integration between the Pharmacy Podcast Network and the Pharmacy Edge. So I couldn't be more excited.
Yes, I'm definitely excited about the collaboration. Myself, I've always been a big believer in collaboration, Todd. We're actually seeing a lot more of this now in our industry than ever before. I think it's a great idea, especially as it helps really articulate, distill each organization's competences to better complement each other. It's no different from the old adage that goes, two heads are better than one. More effective innovation happens actually when you collaborate these resources with talent, experience, and infrastructure, right? So by sharing and leveraging our resources together, it really allows us to re-energize this realm of pharmacy, bringing this new creative abrasion to the market. And in hindsight, we want to disrupt our market by bringing our members and listeners these new innovative ideas to better enhance their business models. And if you think about it, each time a firm collaborates, you help optimize the capacity of your associates to really help stretch the boundaries of an organization. So to me, it only makes sense.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you're talking about that coming together collaboration, because I want to give a shout out. I've seen a tremendous amount of thrust and excitement about podcasting just in the last 6 months. And there have been podcasts that have been, for lack of a better term, coming out of the woodwork about pharmacy. And I want to say this to the listener. I want to say this to the pharmacist out there that's thinking, hey, could I podcast? And the answer is yes, you could. So it's not as hard as you think it is, but there's a lot of production. There's a lot of time in spent. And of course, I know about not only that, but the money spent to make it radio quality and make it worthy of listening to and in cultivating your ideas. If you're a pharmacist and you want a podcast, if you're a pharmacist and you have a podcast, we want you to join the network. So I want you to become part of this collaboration of our 15 plus other pharmacist co-hosts and our 100 plus sponsors, our national conference appearances. You don't have to be part of it all. You could be part of one part of it. But if you want to become a podcaster and you're a pharmacist, reach out to the Pharmacy Podcast Show, pharmacypodcast.com, 66,000 plus listeners, 17,800 Twitter followers. We're the most influential Twitter account when we use the hashtag pharmacy. There's so much that you can do. We need other pharmacists to collaborate with each other. We need to come together. Stop trying to go it all alone. You don't have to go alone. We'll help you grow your listener base. And excited about some of the new shows, Brandon, that are actually coming in the network. So just as a preview for 2018, we have the Pharmacy Inspection podcast coming on, and so excited about the vision of the Pharmacy Inspection podcast. By the way, Pharmacy Inspection podcast is already in existence. So if you want to know all things compounding pharmacy, please check it out. If you want to listen to a dynamic podcast about compounding pharmacy, go to pharmacyinspection.com. And there's a bunch of episodes that have already been put out. I want to say there's like 6 or 7. Seth D. Pascal is a consultant pharmacist. He's a compounding pharmacist. He understands pharmacy. Brian Prince has been deep into compounding pharmacy for quite some time. These guys are intelligent. They're funny. It's a great show. They're going to join the network so we can help build their listenership. I also want to mention the PGX for Pharmacists. That's Pharmacogenomics for Pharmacists, the world of pharmacogenomics. That's an exciting show coming. We haven't released it yet, but I will say I've been fascinated by drug efficacy and the absorption of your medications, and certain medications are a little bit more sensitive than others. Mr. Ken Sternfeld is going to join the show. Ken Sternfeld is the founder of this podcast and of this consultant firm that really digs into the world of pharmacogenomics. He also runs an organization called RxVIP Concierge. So RxVIP Concierge is a network of concierge care providers who really work collaboratively with physicians and other healthcare providers. And so I'm excited about that too. And I tell you what, there's so much that's going to happen with pharmacogenomics that's going to peel back the onion, the mystery of medications on a long-term basis on our patients. So I'm excited. We have a show that is going to be released in 2018, and it's how pharmacists can become subject matter experts and or at least be a lot more knowledgeable about the mystery world of medical cannabis. So medical cannabis and the pharmacist. We want good information. We don't want Dr. Google out there scaring people. We don't want misnomers, and we don't want, crappy information floating around. So Joseph Friedman, who has been on the show, pharmacist, business owner, he runs a medical cannabis research organization in the great state of Illinois called PDI Medical. You can look that up. It's pdimedical.com. So he's coming on. I think we're calling that the Medical Podcast, just to play with the words. And,
I like that.
Yeah. So I think it's necessary. We know that medical cannabis is a big part of what's coming in healthcare. And I want to squash rumors, and I want good information out there. So I'm excited about Joe Friedman. And yeah, so we're actually on the lookout, Brandon. So I want to make this announcement. If you're, once again, someone that would like to podcast, we have two shows that we need co-hosts for. One is called Polititalk RX. So Polititalk RX is a show about all things politics, policy, laws, anything that's happening to change the business of pharmacy, how laws and how politicians and how policy, and I don't have to tell you this, how PBMs are affecting our industry, how they're affecting our patients. So Polititalk RX is going to be a show for 2018. And then we want to resurrect the Patients Podcast. So the Patients Podcast is a show between a pharmacist and an actual patient that we could de-identify, but nonetheless, it's got to be a discussion between pharmacist and patient. So that's on the agenda. It's going to be a big year, Brandon.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
So just to let the listeners know in summary, number one, thank you for listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network. Please share the show. The biggest thing that you can do for us, if you're listening right now, is please go to iTunes and give us a favorable review. And here's the reason. If you do that, then iTunes ranks us in better positioning so that more people can find us. I want more pharmacists to find us. There's an estimated 300,000 of you out there, and we're only around 66,000. So I want, by this time next year, I want all 300,000 of you, and I know that's a tenacious goal, but I want more people listening to podcasts. I think if you're in your car, if you're working out, if you're jogging, and you want to learn something about your industry, about your business, about innovation in pharmacy, about these other podcasters and their views and their passion, I think podcasting is the platform, because there's other things that you have to be doing right now. If you're listening and your eyes are on the road, you shouldn't be fiddling with your phone. You shouldn't be texting and driving. Just pop on a podcast and listen to something about the business of pharmacy. And also remember, Pharmacy Edge Magazine and the Pharmacy Podcast, a big opportunity to grow together. Brandon, I couldn't be more excited about this. What else can you tell us about Pharmacy Edge Magazine, Brandon?
So Pharmacy Edge Magazine, if I didn't mention it before to our listeners, is it's really a magazine that focuses on a lot of the different components and issues that kind of goes on in the pharmacy industry in a whole. And each month what we do is we usually pick a pharmacy influencer in the industry to kind of cover certain topics for the month, to really educate our readers and allow them to stay abreast to kind of what's going on in the industry. So definitely, guys, look forward to the collaboration with the Pharmacy Edge and Pharmacy Podcasts starting 2018. And also, I am excited to announce that American Pharmacy Purchasing Alliance, we will be having our national annual convention in June 2018. So, guys, definitely look forward to that as well.
Yes, and the Pharmacy Podcast Network will be there. So I'm excited about that conference and about us using the platform of what is the APPA, American Pharmacy Purchasing Alliance, and changing the game for the independent pharmacy owner. So, Brandon, thank you so much for your organization for sponsoring the 500th episode. Please share this show if you're listening. Let everybody know that there's a whole new entity and media experience in the realm and in the industry of pharmacy. And once again, listeners, I cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for your feedback and for listening. And I wish everybody a wonderful new year.
Thank you for having me, Todd.
Thank you. You were listening to the Pharmacy Podcast Network's 500th podcast. And we thank you, as always, for listening to the Pharmacy Podcast.
Hey, Pharmacy Podcast listeners, we need your support. Go to iTunes and leave us a rating and review to help support the show. Attention pharmacists! Are you a pharmacist who would like to become a podcaster? The Pharmacy Podcast Network is a perpetual collection of pharmacy professionals who have incredible ideas about the future of healthcare and the passion for pharmacy and better patient care. Contact us today to become part of the network. Why go it alone? Find us at pharmacypodcast.com.